What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to be taking off the exhaust because we're finally going to be able to fix an exhaust leak that's kind of where these two pipes meet together. And we were never able to do it before because of the old exhaust. The way it came into this, you couldn't unbolt this without taking off a header. So the guy who made this couldn't really get back to that back part, so now I'll be able to do that. So we're going to be just taking off this, and it should just be that, and the 4 bolts to the turbo. The turbo should be able to stay exactly where it's at, because it's got a fixed exhaust, and it'll kind of just hold it where it is. Also, did some schematic reading, and it turns out that the naturally aspirated Nissans have a different injector firing order than the turboed ones. And what I mean is, when these go to the ECU, let's say cylinder 1, 3, 5, and then 2, 4, 6 were all in a row, just like that on the pinout. But for a turboed car, on the pinout, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had to label these and follow it back down to the ECU that's underneath the seat right here. And we basically had to repin 4 of the 6 injector wires. And you basically just snipped them and kind of moved one to one spot and moved another to another spot until you got all of the injectors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you come up here and you put them in their correct batches. And it's pretty easy to know which ones go to where, because these are literally labeled, 2, 4, 6, evens over here, odds over there. You got your 1, 3, 5, and so forth and whatnot. So, car runs a whole lot better with that done, because it did have a problem with the old injector campaign wiring that came off of this one right here. And it came out and then just split to 3. So you basically had a dead injector here and a dead injector here. And it was taking one power wire to power 3 injectors. Now, that might be all dandy when it was done back in the 90s and this was relatively new. But I noticed that when I wired it back to the original, what it should be, that it runs so much smoother, and the injectors are a lot louder too. So that tells me that, each injector getting these big power wires to it is a lot better than one power wire splitting. The signal wire was probably still the same strength, but the power wire wasn't. So that's something to note. Oh, also, the O2 sensors, they are a little different. So the middle one, this black wire, you would think that would be a ground. I thought it would be a ground. But no, that goes to pin 24 on the ECU, regardless if it's a turbo ECU or an NA ECU. And then the power wire, obviously, this one just needed power. When you turn the key on, it should show 12 volt power. And then this one, this white wire, which I thought would have been a signal wire, like why wouldn't it be a signal wire? But apparently this one just goes, and it normally went to pin 115 in the Maxima ECU, but when you look up the 300ZX ECU, they don't even have a pin 115. It just shows an X right there and nothing goes to it. So I checked on my Turbo 300. I checked its wiring, and I, checked what this one actually went to, and it turns out it just went to a ground. So I just have it grounded right there through the loom, and now she's working a whole lot better. Runs amazingly smoother. So it was all that needed to be switched around. I didn't do an episode on it because I really didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and I wasn't gonna tell people what to do if I didn't know what I was doing. So, but it turned out to work great, and I knew what I was doing, so I should have done an episode on it. Maybe I'll go a little bit more in depth in it on another time. But as for today, we'll get this taken out and put on. Also, I got AEM gauge box sitting back there. I already put the gauge right there and ran the wiring. So we might have time to put the O2 sensor in there. In my luck with the AEM O2 sensor, it's going to die within 20 seconds of the car started. They always do. Never fails. I don't know why, but they always do. And they even sent a piece of paper in the box this time saying that, like, hey, we know our sensors suck ass, but apparently they're better now. We will see. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, she's off now. Basically, this is the main part to turbo one of these Maximas, is if you can just make yourself one of these things, throw it on there, and you could do the first way that I had it, but it was fucking terrible. You'd really want to get one of these S12 manifolds flipped upside down to make this piece to go over, but it's all out. So obviously something's happening right there. It's blowing out through there. I don't see any leaks where I thought it would be leaking, but we'll get this header wrap peeled off and see what it looks like. Okay, all these welds and everything look pretty good. Bear in mind it was on there like that, and when he made it he couldn't get to the bottom of it, and you can see, bam, there's where the hole is. That's terrible. I think I'm going to grind that shit down and then weld that hole, and then I'll get this thing re-wrapped up and shove it in there. And then yeah, we might as well see if I can get my welder down in there to weld on that pipe too. Alright, we got her all welded up and re-wrapped, so that's ready to go. Just got done tapping out the hole for the bung. It was literally perfect, so I smacked it on there and it's nice and flush now. So I'm gonna go grab my welder and throw a bead around this thing, and that should be good. And then we'll test it out and see if that O2 sensor, see if this just doesn't die within 25-30 seconds of it running. Because where did I put that other one? I just had another one that's exactly identical to that, and it burnt out. Oh, here it is. Right here. It's the same O2 sensor from the same kit. And this one died within like 20 seconds of running. So we'll see how long that one lasts. Okay, O2 sensor is nice and welded in. Do say so. I don't do that bad of a job now on these welding things. It's always good to toss in an old sensor when you weld in a bung or a bolt, just so that way when you're welding, the bung doesn't warp and then you can't get shit into it. That does happen. I haven't had it happen to me, but I've seen it happen before, and it was a bitch. So that's just the old sensor. Gonna toss the new sensor in, wrap this with some exhaust wrap, and reassemble everything, put the header back together and everything, and call it good for today. So next thing we're going to be doing is the motor mounts on this thing. They're a little collapsed, so they don't make any like billet motor mounts or anything for this, so we're gonna kind of make our own. And there's one way to do it with the windshield weld kind of stuff that you put in between the spaces, but I don't like that, so I might just get a big piece of plate metal, drill the centers out, and cap off the mounts, and then just weld it to the outer metal bracket kind of thing right down there. So they'll be stiff mounts anyways. But yeah, let's get this all put back together now. Okay, exhaust is wrapped, new O2 sensor is in and routed. Everything's tightened back up and plugged back in. Just double checking. Alright, let's see if this O2 sensor is going to work or if it's just going to die instantly like the other ones do. Now bear in mind, it's not doing that for me. It only does that. You're only seeing the shutter speed of the camera, but it's holding steady exactly at 15.1, 15.2, which that's great. At idle, it should be 14.7. Oh, 14.9. We just saw a little bit. But a little lean, that's fine. That'll just help with the gas mileage. But the real question is to see what it's going to be under boost. Now, it should be okay up to a certain, you know, PSI. So probably like 7 or so, it'll start leaning out a little bit. Next thing we're going to be doing is upgrading the fuel pump in this thing, and we might end up getting a water methanol kit. So stay tuned for that. But that's going to do it for this episode. Oh shit, look at that. The fucking sensor died. Those things are such pieces of fucking shit. Fuck AEM sensors. Their gauges are cool, but the sensors that they send you are dog shit garbage. They always burn out within a minute of it going. That's fucking bullshit. Well, till next time, everybody, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Alright.